so to get signed in here this evening. We got special guests Walt and McKinney sitting in the back of the room, waiting to come on. Hey everyone, I want to welcome you this evening to Long Spurs Beyond the Holler. I'm Sean Butler coming to you live from the Fox Den studio here at Long Spur headquarters. We are got a couple of special guests here this evening. We got Master Tracker Walt Allen and Master Tracker Jared McKinney from the Long Spur system here, and Walt and Jared Ramrod, our Longspur, Ohio division, and we can't wait to get them on board here to start doing some talking. But first, we always got to take care of some business here first. Hey everybody, you can always see up here above me to screen left, GoMart symbol. And GoMart is a strong partner of Longspur, another West Virginia company, two West Virginia companies doing great things. And we really appreciate them. Without them, we couldn't make this happen. We appreciate GoMart back in the Longspur crew. And in turn, we try to show everything that they have. They have some great stores throughout West Virginia and Ohio Valley, great places to stop for fuel, great prices, great snacks, and family atmosphere. So remember, the next time you're out, to go for good times and go for GoMart. One of the other things I wanted to touch on is, some of the CWD stuff that's going on out here in the country. And I don't know if you've been paying attention, but some of the states have been changing some rules and laws. And Michigan and Missouri both have deer feeding bans built around chronic wasting disease. Concentrate deer, they say, and you speed up transmission. And that's fair enough. Deer nose to nose over a corn pile. Yep, that's contact. Except both states carved out an exception to this rule. Michigan says you can put out 2 gallons of feed if you're within 300 feet of your house. Missouri says 100 feet. Cross that line and it's not disease science anymore, it's recreational viewing. Now I want you to actually think about that for a second, because this is the part that should bother you if concentrating deer really spreads a 100% fatal prion disease. And I mean, if that's actually the mechanism, if that's the real driver, then a pile of corn is a pile of corn. The deer at 99 feet doesn't know he's in a hot zone. His saliva doesn't check a property line. If the biology were the whole story, that exception shouldn't exist at any distance. A bait pile next to a farmhouse concentrates just as many deer as a bait pile next to a tree stand. So why it's legal there and not 60 yards away from your tree stand in the woods? That's a great question, because the ban was never purely about the deer. It's about who gets to control access to them. Representative Beau Lefebvre out of the UP said it plainly back when Michigan's ban first went statewide. Banning baiting and feeding, if we had CWD, would not limit the spread whatsoever, and there is zero scientific evidence to prove that banning baiting or feeding anything whatsoever does anything whatsoever. And he wasn't just some fringe guy, he had bipartisan support behind him. And Senator Vander Wall backed that up in committee, saying flat out he hadn't seen data showing deer baiting actually spread CWD. Meanwhile, the DNR's own case rested on aggregating dozens of studies that look at the relationship, not on a single controlled study showing baiting bans actually reduce CWD prevalence on the ground. And that's a real distinction. Correlation across observational studies is not the same as demonstrated cause and effect, and it's definitely not the same as showing that removing baiting reduces spread. Outdoor writer and longtime whitetail researcher Richard Smith made the point I think lands the hardest. Whitetails have close nose to nose social contact whether or not baiting is legal. Deer don't need your corn pile to stand next to each other. Heck, I see them every evening in the fields here next to each other. They bed together, they browse the same trails, they nuzzle at scrapes in November, regardless of what's legal on your property. You can ban every bait pile in the lower peninsula of Michigan, and the deer are still going to do what deer do, which is be deer together, all the time, bait or no bait. And here's the part that actually should make hunters angry. The same DNR research banning baiting shows it works for the hunter, not the disease. A 2002 Michigan DNR study on bow hunters using 1 gallon of bait found a 41% success rate versus 13% for guys hunting without it. And that's not a footnote. That's the ban's real cost. Fewer deer harvested, which means more deer on the landscape, which is the opposite of what you want if density is actually the thing driving disease spread in the first place. So what you've got is a policy that can't prove it reduces CWD, that exempts itself within spitting distance of every farmhouse in the state, and that measurably suppresses harvest, which, if anything, works against herd health. That's not a disease control program. That's a program built to look like science because we banned something, polls, better than we don't actually have the data. Ban the corn pile at the tree stand, wave it through at the porch, and call it wildlife management. I call it a line drawn by somebody who needed a number, not somebody who needed an answer. And that's my monologue for this evening, August 12th, 2026. We're going to get into our show here now. I'm going to get over here and get the guys out of the back room. I want to welcome Walt Allen and Jared McKinney, both master trackers with Longspur. And welcome, guys. Glad to have you on the show.
Good evening.
Good.
Glad to be here.
A little bit about how long you been tracking deer?
This will be my 20th season tracking deer.
20th season.
I've tracked over 1,000 deer with dogs. Last year, I topped 1,000.
You went over the 1,000 mark.
Yeah,
that's amazing. That's amazing. Jared, how long you been doing this?
This is our 4th season.
4th season. One of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about, where you're located. Walt, you're there in the Belpre area of Ohio, Washington County.
Yes.
And Jared, you're down, let's see, that's Meigs County where you're at, isn't it?
Yeah, we're Western Meigs County.
Western Meigs County. You all, especially Walt, were at ground zero for a huge EHD kill-off last year.
It just about eliminated our deer.
Wow. I remember you were telling me in early June that you were finding or having reports of dead deer that you thought EHD was in the area, and I was like, are you sure? In June?
Yeah. They started dying off in June in the Little Hocking, Reedsville area, and it just progressed. It just spread like wildfire. I wouldn't be afraid to say that 90% of the deer herd right here around Little Hocking, Vito, Cutler is almost void of deer. This whole area just got wiped out.
Right.
And there's just not many deer left. You don't see a deer when you drive down the roads, you just don't see any deer.
Wow. Jared, how's Meigs County looking?
Well, I'm in Western Meigs, so we didn't get hit nearly as hard as the rest of Meigs County or Washington County. but still our track numbers locally were way down. Um,
Right.
if it wasn't for, unfortunately, Forrest Kearns in Lawrence County, he had a the dog get hurt, and if it wasn't for him feeding me some calls, and then Cody Fosbrink in northern part of Kentucky, southern Ohio, and Wes Smith, northern part of Kentucky,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how many calls I would have actually had
Right.
last year, but we only had a handful that were semi-local within 45 minutes or so from the house.
Right. Now, Walt, I know you said you were driving 2 hours to go track deer.
Yeah, it seemed like every track I got was at least an hour and a half or 2 hours away.
Wow.
There was just no local calls. I may have tracked 4 or 5 in Washington County last year, where normally I'd track 40 or 50 just in Washington County or local. Most
Wow.
of the tracks I did were for people I've never tracked for. Just
Okay.
it was a long ways away.
And for those that don't know, I mean, when you spend 20 years and over 1,000 tracks, you build a clientele that calls you year after year.
That's right.
And you just didn't have that last year.
No, I just didn't have any of my locals calling. So many of them didn't hunt. A lot of the people for out of towners that come year after year, they just got a different lease. It
Right.
wasn't worth their time to come here and hunt, and there just wasn't any deer to hunt. They wiped out our trophy class bucks, and it wiped out all age classes. So this year, what would be 5-year-old bucks, they're missing. All the
Right.
4-year-old deer got killed last year, and then what got roadkill and what nature takes out on its own. So this
Right.
year, our shootable class bucks are going to be way less than they was last year, and it just continues to go down for our shootable class bucks year after year after year for the next several years.
Right.
And normally, I think with EHD, when you get a widespread kill like we've had, the surrounding areas, the deer filter back in. In our area, it just seemed to kill everything for 60 miles in every direction.
Right.
So there's no deer to filter back in.
Yeah. And when I say you were ground zero, I mean you were ground zero. You're in the center of the circle.
Yep, the end of June we started finding deer, and then you could walk outside. Didn't matter where you went, Parkersburg, Marietta, Belpre, South Side. All you could smell was dead deer. Wherever you drove, down the highways, down the interstate, in town. I know that there was disposal guys picking up 60 dead deer a day out of Vienna, and
Wow.
they were dumping them out there at the local dump. There were dump trailers full of deer being hauled out every day.
Wow. Um, Now, Jared, you said it wasn't quite as bad down your way. Are you seeing maybe a bounce back year this year?
I mean, I'm seeing deer from the road. It's not quite as bad as Walt.
Right.
I mean, there was a drone guy who was here in Langsville. I'm in Langsville, Ohio, and he said that he's seen a pile of deer. So I think in this area it was more of a hit and miss. It wasn't as widespread.
Right.
I mean, I seen 6, 7, 8 deer just a little bit ago standing in the field, miles down from the road. So, but I just don't know if very many people were hunting or what the deal was here locally.
Right. Um, Walt, I mean, I know it's affected the deer recovery business. Have you talked to any of your local taxidermists or processors or outfitters?
Well, I know a lot of the processors were way down this year, and the outfitters were all looking for people. Some of the outfitters were talking about trying to talk to the landowners. They have these huge leases, and without the hunters, it's hard to pay for the leases. So they were trying to forego the payment last year, to help with the leases, to keep the leases. And a lot of leases have just been given up. And
Right.
the corn sales have been down in many areas, all the deer corn sales, and anything deer related around here is just missing. Um, it's just like an industry it's not in this area right now.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's one of the things a lot of people don't take their time to think about is how it affects all the industries. It's not just affecting the hunter, it's affecting the people that make their living off the hunter, the mom and pop stores, the trackers, the um, taxidermists, outfitters, processors. I mean, there's a long list of motels, Airbnbs, leasing. It's all heavily affected.
Oh
It's
yeah,
not
most of
just
the motels like in Beverly High and Athens, those motels are full during deer season, especially in November. And last year they weren't. There
right.
just wasn't. The people did not come.
I just want to remind our audience out there, if you have any questions for Walt and Jared, you're more than welcome to send them over, and we'll try to get them answered for you this evening. Um, One of the things I wanted to talk about is, deer recovery, which is what we're all about in Ohio. I mean, it's kind of become the Wild West, as we like to call it. 20 years ago, Walt, you were like the only game in town, weren't you?
Well, for almost the first 10 years, I didn't know of anyone else. I can remember people calling, and they'd be on my list for 3 or 4 days waiting for me to show up because I had such a long list ahead of them. And
Wow.
people would wait, and we would find deer 3 and 4 days later all the time.
Right.
And I would track all day long, all night long, all day long. I used to call it the tracker's rut because I'd
Yeah.
lose a lot of weight and a lot of sleep during the first 2 weeks in November. It was
Yeah,
good
I
time.
remember.
I used to look for other people with dogs so I could, you know, depend on or call them or pass some of my tracks back then. And I know Claude Maxwell out of McConnellsville, Maxwell Sporting Goods. He fed me so many tracks. He kept me busy for the first 10 years. 40% of my calls came from Claude Maxwell.
Right. That's awesome. Well, I know my first run in with you, actually, I didn't get to meet you, but my brother hired you.
Yep.
And you recovered a big buck for him. And that's something that at that point in time, I was really heavily hunting big deer. And I had a couple get away from me at that point. And I'm like, you know, that was really interesting the way my brother and his friend Charlie was explaining it to me. And so I started kicking it around and playing with it. And of course, we probably did some stuff here we shouldn't have done before we passed the laws in West Virginia. But
That's how we learn.
that's how you got to learn. I mean, yeah. Do some things. The ethical thing isn't always the legal thing. We found out. You know.
We always try to do what's right by the deer. We don't like to see
Yeah.
anything suffer.
Right.
I know in
Right.
the beginning, I didn't have anyone to ask, anyone to call, or anyone to talk to. I shared it with all my friends and family, and they've heard all the stories and all the questions. They could probably interview as well as I can.
Right.
But my little dog, he's the one that taught me everything in the beginning. And we would
Right.
chase deer from daylight to dark, not knowing when to quit.
Right.
Every time we found a drop of blood, we'd go another mile. And find another
Yeah.
drop of blood, we'd go another mile. And that's when I really learned to trust my dog.
Yeah.
When we would go a mile and then find a drop of blood. And then that you gotta follow him. And since then I've learned what deer is capable. There's a time when you're no longer tracking a deer, you're chasing a deer.
Right.
And at that point I try to call it.
Uh, so Jared, you've been doing this for 4 years now, but you're connected to Walt. He kind of got you started in the saw cell.
Yeah, so I stuck it was a pretty good 8 point there back in 2021, and I backed out. I didn't track. I knew I made a bad shot. My air rest didn't drop, and I actually got a hold of Justin first, and then Justin gave me Walt's number, and I texted Walt, and I told him the scenario. Told him I done been 600, 700 yards, no beds, ran out of blood, and he's like, "Well, I'll come, but we're going to find that deer alive if we find it." Like, man, there ain't no way. Like, this deer's bleeding. There ain't no way. I've went 700 yards. This thing can't have a drop of blood left. How does this guy know what he's talking about? I ended up not having Walt come, and then like 3 or 4 days later, I had the buck back on camera, and I told my wife, I said, I'm not sure how that guy did it, but I got to be able to do that. So
You wanted that
I kind of
superpower, huh?
that I wanted that superpower. Yeah, I want to be able to tell people their deer's dead or alive via text message without even seeing a picture. I didn't even send him any pictures. I just a description. But
Right.
the at that time probably 700, 800, 900 tracks that he did at that time. He had learned from experience, and
You
that
know, when I
there
first
was no sense of me coming or him coming to me.
I love that story. It's one of the greatest stories I've heard. But when I first started, there was no one else. So I had to prove to every tracker or every hunter that I was not there for the money. Every
Right.
hunter thought I was showing up for the money, run my dog, and leave. So I had
Right.
to work extra hard and try everything. But I would also try my best to determine through the interview whether they needed me or not. And I would
Right.
try to talk them out of it. If I thought, like Jared's case, if I thought, if there's a chance his deer's alive and most likely he doesn't need me, he needs to save his money and keep hunting, that's what I would try to talk him into. Because there was nothing worse than going out there on a shoulder shot deer, tracking for miles, and trying to convince a hunter that it's not dead. When
Right.
they're just, if you keep finding blood, they want to keep going. And with your dog tracking a dead deer, it's slow, it's easy, it's steady, it's right through the woods to the deer, it's dead. When you tracking a live deer, one you keep jumping, it is fast, it's chaos. That's when they get wore out, that's when things happen, that's when things go bad. So I always
Right.
try to do the best interview I can and save them the money if they don't if I think it's not possible. And every time I hear that story from Jared, it just lights me up. It's one of the best stories I've ever had.
Yeah, I always like hearing that. I've heard Jared tell it he wanted that superpower. It was
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
these traps. Do you
Same way
have
with
it
the
now?
story about your brother. That just that was.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we found that deer.
Yeah. I hey, he sent me that picture that night and I was like, that going, he has a little dog.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
I've always
So
used the little dog. I made him a deal a long time ago. If they'll track the deer in, I'll carry them out. So I always use a little dog.
so it's probably a good thing you don't have a bloodhound.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my. Uh now as you said, 20 years ago, up until maybe 10 years ago, for the first 10 years, there just weren't a lot of trackers in Ohio. And then you've seen that kind of come into fruition that there were a bunch of trackers then about 6 or 7 years ago. I think I think about 6 years ago was the first time I applied to get on the Ohio Deer Trackers list, and it's grown immensely since
It
I've
sure has.
and a lot of good trackers on there. And then the next thing that comes out of Ohio, just out of the blue, the next thing I'm hearing is, hey Sean, you seen this guy on YouTube finding deer with a drone? And I'm like, what? And of course, that's Mike Yoder over Drone Deer Recovery. And he lit the world on fire, and I think he sold everybody in Ohio and their cousin a drone.
I think he did. He did a good
And
job at it.
I mean, I don't think people throughout the United States realize how competitive wounded game recovery is in Ohio now.
No, it's really cutthroat. And here, as of last year, if you don't answer the call almost immediately, you don't get it. They'll just move on to someone else.
Right.
And
And you can't, I mean, you can answer the call and tell them, well, that's going to be a 12-hour wait because
right,
your deer has to die. And the next thing you know, they call you back and say, I got the drone here. Guy next door with a drone, he's coming out right now.
that's right.
And,
So that's why I got a drone. I had to be able to compete.
right.
And I've learned that it's a great tool to have in the box. Dog and drone, you just can't go wrong. You got every tool you need.
Yeah. And they are a useful tool. We do the same thing. And I know, what's your experience has been, Jared, down in your area, Meigs County?
So it's kind of the same. So I mean, last year there was several calls that I'd had set up. I'd actually talked to the hunter, and then next thing I know, say, hey, we decided to go a different route. We got a guy come out with a drone. which I mean it's fine. They help the hunter out, um, but yeah, it's been tough here locally. I mean, there's probably, I don't know, 8 drones within an hour of me, so it's if I don't get on them and try to get something set up pretty fast, I mean the drones are just they're gobbling them up. So
Right.
this year I decided to go drone route. I hadn't told you that yet. So my
Oh,
drone, yeah, I'm getting a drone. It'll be here tomorrow. So
well, good.
uh,
There you go.
this year we'll be able to. There's no excuse now that we can't help in every scenario that we can. So
Well,
I still trust my dog.
yeah,
Nothing against drones. I'm not hating on drones. I mean, they're like Walt said, they're a great tool. I know Walt. I think he packs his in on certain calls if he feels like it's going to be alive, and
right.
that's kind of my plan this year. Is I'm going to build me a smaller box and just put a drone, a couple batteries in, and put it in my backpack. And if I feel we bumped one or something like that, I'll put the drone up and scan ahead, and at least we'll have a good direction, and then we'll be able to determine at that time if it's
Yeah,
worth tracking, or if we need to back out and come back later, or tell them it's going to live another day. So
there you go. One of the things I just saw pop up here, I had Roger Arnold said that they've been finding a few dead deer down around Boone and Lincoln County. Um, and right now, August and into September is really EHD time. So, Roger, if that's the case, and you're seeing, you're seeing some dead deer out there, need to remember, jump on that Longspur app. Right there it is, www.longspur.app. Put in a EHD report, and that just helps other hunters know what's going on. We decided to make that function to help crowdsource information for hunters and wildlife managers. Also, don't forget to call your local DNR. We do share this information with them, but you should call them firsthand. We're not here to replace them. We're just here to crowdsource more information for hunters. And that's at www.longspur.app. And we will be going to the Apple App Store hopefully sometime this week. Trying to see here if anybody else has asked any questions. I know Roger over there at P&R Whitetail Supreme, Walt, he said that one way he's gauging it is P&R is moving very slowly in Pomeroy and Athens area.
Yes.
And usually he's selling a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and the P&R stuff works great. He gave me
Yeah.
some at the last show, and I put it out, and they absolutely destroyed it.
So the deer that are there are using it.
Oh, yeah, I was same doe and a couple fawns, but they absolutely
Right.
destroyed it. They just lived in it.
We had Keystone blood trackers. The drones are nice, but hoping Pennsylvania stays away from them for a bit longer. Yeah, Pennsylvania is one of those few states left in the east here that doesn't allow, or lower east, I should say, mid central or central U.S. down, that does not allow drones.
I don't blame him, especially if he's a dog tracker.
Yeah,
In the beginning, the first 10 years, I didn't have to worry about anyone, and they would wait as long as it took for me to get there. But when I started tracking for $20. But I remember walking in Claude Maxwell's store one day, and he told me, he said, Walt, there's another guy tracking with them little white dogs. I said, really? I said, give me his number. I said, in November, there's no way I can get to everybody. And he went and got the number, and he brought it back and gave it to me, and it was my number.
Oh, no.
But then it was probably another 3 or 4 years before I started seeing many more dogs. And then when the dogs started coming around, I think one year I tracked behind 8 or 10 different dogs.
Right.
And I found a lot of deer behind dogs, but it was just new trackers, just beginning.
Yeah.
And then when the drones come out, my tracks dropped 50%. And that was wait times, I believe. Yeah. That was the biggest issue is you call them, they call you, and you tell them, I got 3 people in front of you and your deer needs to die. I'll be there in the morning. And next thing you know, they had a drone come that night.
Right.
It's kind of what I'm seeing too, is the drones, they say I can come now, and then they'll find the deer, drop a pin, and then send the hunter back later. And I know some of them, they'll go back and do a follow-up, a courtesy call, and try to relocate the deer. But again, some of them's not, and they're just saying, hey man, I came and I found your deer, and that's what I was obligated to do.
Right.
And then then the hunters up the creek, right? And they're
Right.
Spend
calling the
a lot of money.
dog and yeah, calling the dog and say, "Well, I've already paid the drone." And
I've,
I mean,
I've had
I'll
that
help where
happen
I can,
multiple
but
times.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah, I think if the drone is not going to wait the proper wait time, they should at least come back if they find the deer alive after the proper wait time without
Yeah.
charging again.
Well, one of the things I wanted to touch on is, and I say this a lot, and sometimes people kick me for it, but most trackers are outdoorsmen, and they know how to read dogs. They know what deer do. They know deer habits. So most trackers are outdoorsmen, but the first couple years I met drone pilots, they weren't outdoorsmen.
They're gamers.
Yeah,
Most
yeah,
of them are young and video gamers, way better than I am at anything technical.
yeah, yeah.
But I can listen to your story and look at a map and give you an idea right where to look for your deer, just from what you're telling me.
And that's invaluable.
Yes.
Yeah. Now I'm seeing a movement on the drone side of things, talking with some of the guys that run lists in some of the different states, and they are moving towards making sure their pilots are outdoorsmen.
I think
And
that's very important.
yeah, I see Chase Starcher said that's why it's important for hunters to ask questions as to any tracker. And Chase says I offer to do a follow-up flight the next morning if possible, which Chase is one of those long spur pilots down towards the Kenna area on Interstate 77, and he's a pretty fair guy with hunters, and that's the way you got to be. I mean, I've went back to a couple of times on deer and made flights when we found them alive,
Yep.
just to make sure, and even run the dog. I mean,
I know
every
a true tracker at heart, their number one goal is to tailgate the deer. And,
yes,
something like especially Jared, he stayed last year on several jobs till the next day, waiting on
yes,
the deer to expire, waiting to get permission, putting other tracks off. Sometimes we'll go hit other tracks and come back, because our number one job is to finish the job. We want to do what's right
right,
by the deer. Once the hunter pulls the trigger, we owe everything we can to that deer in order to finish the job. And we want to see the deer tailgated with the I'm not knocking any drone guys whatsoever. I like everybody. I like all trackers. But
mm-hmm,
technically, with the drone, he can tell you I see your deer or I don't see your deer.
right,
A dog guy can tell you it bedded here. It went this way. This is what this blood looks like. This blood has this in it. This is
right,
sign of organ blood. And
right,
we can pretty much break it down and give you a better perspective of whether your deer is fatal or not. And if it's after the third week of November, the drones are just excellent. They can see everything. But up until then, with the leaves on, the dog is just invaluable. And the dog doesn't know how to lie. I mean,
right,
just he wants to find it, and he'll show you everything.
right. As long as you trust him.
Yeah, you have to trust your dog.
Now, one of the things I want to point out to our listeners out there, um, if you look behind Walt, you can see some years of experience hanging on that wall dealing with deer, not
he
just as a
bought
tracker.
those
Yeah,
yard sale.
yard sale.
Yeah, the neighbor's a big time deer hunter.
Oh my, no, Walt's a pretty good deer hunter. Um, that's one of the things I've noticed in the years I've been tracking. Most of the really good trackers I talk to have some trophies on the wall. I mean, there's a few good trackers that aren't deer hunters; they're just good dog people. Um, but most really good trackers have some nice deer on the wall.
Well, I lost a really big buck one time, and I'm sure I killed it, but I
Hmm.
couldn't find it. And I had two Jack Russells. I used them to squirrel hunt with. And the deer, I believe, crossed off the property onto my taxidermist property.
Uh huh.
And I called him and sent him pictures, and they said they didn't have the deer on camera. They had never seen it. He said, and he knew I had the Jack Russells.
Hmm.
He said, take your dogs out there and find that deer. They'll find it. He said, that's what they use in Africa. They use Jack Russells to find all
Right.
their wounded game. So I took my dogs out there, and we did end up going down the trail a little ways, but we didn't find it. I shot it down through the shoulder blades, and it was a high hit straight down through, and there was hardly any blood. And I believe it ended up getting to the highway, and it may have got stolen. But
Right.
I didn't find the deer, but I was determined to have a deer dog.
Yeah.
So I spent the next 3 weekends shooting does and putting my dogs on does, and Sonny was 8 months old, and by the third deer, he was a deer dog.
So let me. So you trained your dog on deer.
Yeah, I never run a mock track. In my mind, running mock tracks, I was training my dogs to follow boot tracks. And I was tracking for other people. Most of the people I talked to in those beginning years, everyone wanted a dog, and everyone wanted to know how to train the dog. And I always told them how. Everybody said I was working myself out of business, but I was out there to educate. I was out there to teach people everything I could teach them, help them get their deer. And I always thought that training my dog on a mock track was teaching them to follow boot tracks. So I only took them on actual deer tracks. I would actually walk my good dog ahead, and I'd have somebody leading the new pup in the rear. And if it was a good gut shot, I'd put the new pup first and let them see what they worked, how they did, and then I'd always have the good dog for the backup. But Sonny, my very first dog, it was 3 deer. On his third deer, man, he was a deer dog. But
He was ready, huh?
their number one job is to please you. And when you build that bond with them and they're with you every day, it doesn't take them long to learn what pleases you. And that may have been the only thing I've ever met that liked to hunt deer more than me.
There you go. Hey, Jared, we got Keystone Deer Tracking says Jared's background looks like his wife decorates for him. So,
Well, I'm
uh,
sitting at my kitchen table, so
oh,
she can
okay.
have. I have my section of the house, and she gets the rest.
Oh my. So, Jared, what kind of dog are you running?
My main dog is a chocolate lab, and then I also have a wire hair pointer.
Hmm. How's
My lab, she turned 4 in June, and then my wire hair, she's 2.
so Lady May is your chocolate lab, and y'all just kind of learn together. I mean,
Yeah. So
yeah.
after I talked to Walt, I got a GSP, and the plan was to do sheds and to attract deer, but I did not know how to handle the GSP's energy, so he just became the part of the good boy club, and then the following year, I took the rest of that season off. I didn't have a dog the rest of that season, and then my wife, we went to actually go pick up some pigs to butcher, and they had a litter of labs, and there was only one chocolate lab, and then she had to have it, so I let her get it, and then I started playing with it, and
Hmm.
next thing I know, she's the obedience stuff. She's picking up great. I started dabbling in the tracking stuff, and there wasn't nothing I could do to fool her. And then I told my wife, I said, "I'm sorry, dear, but you've lost your dog. She's my dog now." And it's been uh, it's been like that ever since then. She's still my dog, no matter what my wife says.
And now you're bringing up a second one. You said a wire hair pointer, and
Yep,
how's she doing?
yep. She does really well. I have a hard time. I mean, 2 dogs is great, especially if you're tracking for the public. You can back yourself up, and if you have one get hurt,
Right.
you have a backup. But it's really hard for me to let my lab leave her in the truck and take the wire hair, man. She's just I don't want to brag too much, but if she goes somewhere, I just need to follow her because
Right.
she's all over it. And the wire hair, she does fine too. It's just I just gotta get her on more tracks. But like I said, my lab, she's just so easy to read and listens really well, and it's hard to put her on the bench. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping to get my wire hair out some more this season and um, kind of try to split it up there a little bit 50-50.
Right. Well, trying to see oh, that's Keystone again. They said Lady May's the most well-behaved dog you've seen in person.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
does really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's always a joy to have at shows. she'll be
Yeah.
laying on her bed listening really well, and the next thing I know, she's out being PR dog throughout the
Just
crowd.
don't make the mistake of petting her. If you pet her, you've messed up because she'll she'll come and lean on you,
Love you
want you
for
to pet her
life.
some more. Yeah.
Walt, you've always been into the Jack Russells, but you've also kind of had some of those wire-haired dashhound dogs going
Oh
on
yeah,
there.
I got some wire-haired dachshunds. My jacks are really hyper and really high strung, and they'll just kill anything.
Yeah,
And I thought I would get dachshunds to be a little more mild, and they don't have near the kill in them that the Jack Russell does, but the
right.
dachshunds do really well.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have a Jack Russell dachshund mix. See, Buck is 11 years old this year. It'll be his
Right,
10th season, and he's not really slowing down, but I'm not going to push him.
right.
So I got a new one coming up, old Moose, and he's really showing a lot of promise. And I
Yeah,
got a couple others. I got Boomer. He's a mixed breed dachshund mix that I have, and I'm planning on getting him tested with Jared this year, and
there you
and
go.
he's doing really well.
Yeah, I always love seeing those videos pop up of Walt with all the dogs out.
Oh, they love to run. We
Yeah,
got 4.8 miles the other night. They did really well.
wow. They're gonna be in
But
shape, huh?
Buck's 11 years old, and he ran 3 miles without stopping.
Oh my goodness, my goodness.
He's my third full-time tracking dog, and boy, I'm really going to miss him. He's getting old fast.
I know one of the things we talked about before coming on the air. Not only are the deer numbers down in your area, but you said turkey numbers are way down.
Yeah, I think it's the hatch and it's the poults. Most of the people I know that turkey hunted have not turkey hunted in the past several years. They just don't even buy turkey tags, and we don't even hear gobblers gobbling. And you go out in the morning, week after week, and just not hear anything. The numbers are gone, and it's just not in our area. It seems to be
Yeah.
spreading like wildfires year after year. It just gets a little further and a little further. We have no turkeys.
You know, it's becoming a problem throughout the country. I know, it's down the southern states. They've lowered some bag limits. Kansas has lowered bag limits. I believe Oklahoma has. I know Nebraska has. I mean, this turkey population drop is a big concern across the country. I know that's what a lot of people in state biologists, National Wild Turkey Federation biologists, Turkeys for Tomorrow biologists, everybody's like, what do we need to do?
I saw the jury boys talking about it the other day.
Yeah, Missouri's had drops, but then I talked to my buddies up in Wisconsin, and they had a record kill this year. They said turkeys everywhere.
Yeah, there's
And
Noble County just above us. They say there's turkeys everywhere, but
yeah,
I think it's just a matter of time till it gets there, whatever it is.
yeah. I mean, we're having a good hatch here. We've had a good hatch the last couple of years here in central West Virginia. Our turkey kill was a little higher this year in West Virginia. So I don't know. I mean, lots of things at play there for sure. Predators. I don't know.
Our bobcat, our
Oh,
bobcat
bobcats,
population
something.
is exploding.
Yeah.
And
In Ohio, you're not allowed to take bobcats, are you?
no, we're not allowed to hunt them, and they're really hard on turkeys.
Yeah. And you all got some supercharged bobcats. So I've seen some tracks in the
Yeah,
Ohio woods that make you like look and say, "Is that? I hope that's a bobcat."
I've trapped a few trapping for coyotes in foot traps and had to release them, and boy, some of them have been a handful to release.
I figure. Yeah. How do I have a friend that uses a big like a 50-gallon tote and
That's
has a U shape cut out of it for the paw, and they put that toad over them with just their paw and the trap sticking out. And then you
that's
got to be
what I've
careful.
learned. Yep, the tote is by far the best way. I've tried it
Yeah.
every way possible. The tote is the best way.
And then you
And
can
then as
use
soon as
that
you release it, it runs underneath your four-wheeler.
Oh
Yeah.
my. Jared, do you do anything much else out in the outdoors? I mean,
Well, I've got three boys and my wife, and two of the boys they hunt. My wife hunts. I try to hunt when I can, but
Hmm.
most of my time in the woods is spent getting them on deer. And honestly, I would much rather put my hands on 30 to 40 bucks a year than and then the one potentially the one that I might shoot at or wound or whatever. So
Right.
my big buck experience has been I can get on them, but I usually screw it up somehow. So
Right.
um, that and do a little trapping, a little fishing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
You spent a lot of time in the outdoors in your young life.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I mean, where do you, and this is maybe something you can look past Ohio. And I mean, I've been doing this for years. And when I say doing this, being in the outdoor arena, hunting, and then having TV shows and then getting into tracking. Um, where's this outdoor space going? Where do you see it going, Walt? I mean, do you think uh, things are looking bad? Do you think they're looking good? What do you see out there when you talk to hunters and travel around?
I see it being expensive. That's the
Okay,
worst part about it. I see is the expense is nothing's getting cheaper, and it's getting harder and harder for younger people to get into it.
right,
Land is not accessible. The areas to hunt is not accessible. Leases, $30, $50 an acre is just undoable.
right,
Uh, it's just that's the biggest thing I see is the expense of hunting has went up so much that it really limits the access for a lot of people.
right. I mean, even if you cut out all the gimmicks and stuff that you really don't need to spend money on, the cost of hunting is still really high.
It is, and the biggest part of it is land access for
Yeah,
us. There's just not a lot of land access. All these big farms that we used to be able to hunt have been sold off, broken off into smaller lots and sold off. Where you used to have a 300-acre farm with one family that hunted, and they would allow hunters. Well, now that farm has been broken up into 30 different lots with 30 different houses, and there's a hunter in
right,
every other house. So now you have twice as many hunters on the same size property.
right,
And our land, there used to be a lot of public land around us too, and
right,
a lot of the public land has disappeared and been sold.
right,
And seems like most of our public land, especially during November when the deer movement is high, there's just so many people.
right.
It, it's
Yeah,
just not access is the biggest part. And if you do find a farm that allows you to hunt, they allow everyone to hunt.
right.
So a lot of times it's worse than the public land.
Well, one of the things I've noticed as a tracker coming over to and tracking in Ohio is I haven't tracked for very many Ohioans.
Usually an out of
Yeah.
towner.
Yes,
That's That's
I've
what I was going
tracked.
to say is I track for a lot of out-of-state hunters, and I keep track of my recoveries. Obviously, all my tracks, I keep
Right,
records. So I do recoveries, proof of lives, and then I have some unknowns. Well, the unknowns are typically from out-of-state hunters who are hunting public land or not running cameras or something of that nature. And like Walt was
right,
saying, there's a lot of outfitters southeast Ohio. I mean, there's a lot of big bucks killed in this area. Um, it's a target destination for a lot of
right.
out of state guys. Um,
Yeah,
so
I'd say
access and
I think Ohio is the number one non-resident hunted state in the country.
I believe it. I don't have anything against non-residents. A lot of non-residents. I have a lot of friends that are non-residents. I live here
Right,
on the border. I grew up in Parkersburg, West Virginia, so I don't have anything against non-residents. It's just, it does use up a lot of the land, does lease up a lot of the space, and
yeah,
non-residents a lot of times don't kill the does. They come to
right,
trophy buck and that's it. So I'm not sure it really helps our deer numbers.
right,
And a lot of people I've heard the EHD only helped because our deer numbers were so high, but I didn't see deer starving. I didn't see
right,
the the environment suffering. I didn't see any over foraging. I didn't see anything to suggest that our area couldn't support the numbers of deer we had. So I'm not sure how it really helps other than it's not filling our freezers. I know a lot of people around here that depend on deer meat that are not getting any deer meat, and so now they have to buy beef, and you can't afford to buy beef.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I know we touched on how many dogs and drones there are, but I mean, would you just say that, I mean, from my point of view of tracking West Virginia, Maryland, PA, Kentucky, and Ohio, Ohio by far is like the most competitive tracking and deer hunting state. I mean, just there's this feel.
Especially in the past 5 years.
Yeah. And I get the feel from the hunters too, not just the
Yeah.
other trackers, not just the other drone pilots, but even the hunters have this edge to them. And
Yeah.
of course, I'm dealing with a lot of people that are coming in and hunting in outfitters, and they've drawn blood, so that's their dime that they just spent.
Oh yeah, there's several outfitters that'll call me, and that if we sometimes they'll call me when they don't find blood because they want to verify if the deer's been hit, and if they don't find blood, if buck says there's nothing there, they get to keep hunting.
Right.
If buck says they hit it, that's their dime.
Yeah. We have Rick says the cost of hunting and access are hurting the average hunter. Also, hunters bashing others on what they harvest or their weapon of choice is getting ridiculous. And everyone is an expert. And I appreciate that, Rick Everly.
He's right.
Yeah. I mean, we see it day in and day out. We try to take a look at everything. I've had the president of West Virginia Bear Hunters Association ask me why write an article about bear hunting? And we try to look at it and not in a non-bashing way, but so many times I see so many people on social media that have to take that next step,
Yeah.
and take it to bashing.
Yeah.
And also judging what other people are out there hunting. I celebrate with those people that kill a spike as well as a 180-inch buck. I mean,
Just like Jared said, I'd rather get my hands on a deer than spend my time trying to chase one.
yeah, yeah. I love, I like tracking deer. I don't care if they have antlers or not. And
Yeah.
we celebrate with the hunter. I've been on a couple tracks where the hunters were disappointed in what we found.
Oh
There
yeah.
was considerable ground shrinkage.
That's just part of it. I hear him say, I
Yeah.
shot the wrong deer.
I
That's
was in,
excitement. They was excited if they shot the wrong deer. It had to be good.
yeah. Oh yeah. I had a guy, this was in Vinton County, but the boy was a West Virginia boy, called us. And it was Halloween, full moon night. I mean, it was just a beautiful day. It was one of those days that I wanted to be in the stand and couldn't be. And this he really was being pushy about where he knew this deer went, and he had shot a 190-inch 12 point with a drop tine, and he was showing me the pictures. And dogs just kept tracking their hearts out in a different direction. He kept turning us around, saying, "No, no, no, it didn't go that way." And we got out to 400, and then we get out to 600 yards, and finally I told him, I said, "Let me trust the dogs." I said, "You go look where you think it went, and we're going to trust the dogs." And right at dark, Chrissy and I found that thing about 800 yards from his stand. And I was like, "Woo, that's a nice buck." Now, it's not a 190-inch 12 point with a drop time, but it was a 150-inch 8 point.
Big one.
Big one. I mean, a big 8. The biggest 8 I'd got my hands on. So I go back and get this gentleman and lead him way back in there. It's on the very back side of his lease. And he looked at that deer and he said, "I didn't shoot that deer." And I said, "This deer's pretty limber. It just died not long ago." He said, "Nah, I didn't shoot that deer." He said, "Now my son, he thought he hit a 9 point last week. Well, it'd been 80 degrees every day."
Yeah.
And I said, "Man, I'd take this deer and eat it today. And you're telling me this was when your son shot last week?" And then he finally started sitting there and thinking about it. And he was a little older. And he said, "You know what?" He said, "I've had cancer. I've been blessed to hunt and get better." He said, that probably is my buck. He
Oh,
said, I
good.
just need to rejoice and get that thing out of here.
Yeah.
So, uh,
Yeah, I sure enjoy sharing that moment with all the hunters. I just want
yeah,
to help everyone I can help, and I want to be friends with every person I can be friends with.
right. Oh, it builds friendships. That's for sure. Have you found that out, Jared?
Oh yeah, for sure. I have hunters I've tracked for. I mean, I've tracked for them a couple times, and we even keep in touch afterwards. And they'll text me, ask me how we're doing, or I'll text them. And um, so yeah, for sure, definitely build friendships.
Right.
And if it wasn't for tracking, I probably wouldn't have met Walt. So
Yeah,
There you go. Yeah.
that's been a blessing.
yeah, for
We
sure.
had Roger Arnold ask, "What are your go-to scents?" And I'm thinking about hunting. Do y'all, when you get to hunt, do you use any kind of scents?
Not many.
I
I
I
stick with
don't I
the
don't use them.
I stick with the mock scrapes usually.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
the tarsal glands. I like to save the tarsal glands
Oh
and
yeah.
reuse those if I can. But
There's
I
there's
made
nothing like tarsal
no
glands.
scent is better than any scent.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I like that idea. That's something, but when I do really use mock scrapes heavy. I mean, that's,
The mock
and I'm
scrape.
putting
Well,
them out this
that's
time of year.
yep.
If I
Hmm.
use anything, it's I'll pee in a scrape or something like that. But
Yeah.
I don't. I used to when I was younger. My dad he used to buy Tink 69 and all that stuff or Code Blue, and it was hit or miss. We would have some deer come in, but they wouldn't come in downwind or anything like that. So I don't know. I don't. We never really trusted them too much, but I did have pretty good luck with peeing in a scrape and covering it up and all that good stuff, and it would seem to that seemed to work.
Right. Um, any other stories you guys want to tell us?
We was talking about that big 8 point.
Yeah.
I remember a story about a big 8 point. I was actually on crutches where I had broke my ankle. A deer had got me down and broke my ankle like 2 weeks prior. So my one leg was in a cast, and I was tracking on crutches. And I got a call up around Hackney, Ohio, and some boys had shot a buck, and they tracked it a good ways and couldn't find it. So when I got there, I remember it was kind of like a little grassy lane that went up along a little river. It wasn't super big, but it was a river, and it was deep. And there was about four little houses on that lane. And, like almost like small cabins. And there was some people mowing in their yards. It was almost dark. It was evening time. And it was real steep. There was a real steep bluff and a big giant high wall out through along that creek. And we went clear to the back of that lane, and their blood trail, they had shot it up on this bluff, clear up on the steep part. And they tracked it about 300 yards to the end of that yard. The last drop of blood they had was right at the back of that yard. Well, my brother-in-law was tracking with me all the time. And since it was so steep, I said, well, why don't you just take Sonny and go track it, and I'll just stay here at the truck. So they took off tracking, and I was there at the truck, and I was thinking to myself, I wonder which way this deer would have went. Pretty soon they came back, and they was at that blood drop, and they said Sonny just wanted to go from the stand to that drop of blood, which obviously that's the way the deer had went. But it was coming down that lane through all those yards and all those people, and we thought there's no way it came out in here. So they decided to go back up the creek, and they was up there looking. And by this time, it's getting pretty dark. And I was walking down that lane, and I thought, I kept looking back where the last drop of blood was and looking ahead. And I'm on crutches. And I thought, I'd say that deer must have went this way. And there was a barn right there. And I seen a little deer trail kind of going behind that barn. So I walk up there and shine my light. And sure enough, the deer's laying right behind that barn. And it had already been shot several times. So
Oh wow.
I told them guys it wasn't dark. It was just before dark,
Hmm.
and it was getting dark. And those guys came back, and I told them I found the deer. They needed to hurry up and get the bow and shoot it again. So we put Sonny in the truck because Sonny had just been shot by an arrow 2 weeks prior. When I got my ankle broke, Sonny also got shot with an arrow and cut him pretty bad. So I put Sonny back in the truck, and we got the hunter up there to shoot the deer. And the deer's kind of curled up in a ball, And it's, the way it was laying, I said, aim for the ear. That's your heart lung area. I said, what looks like the heart lung is the hindquarters. So he aimed for what he thought was the heart lung, and he hit it in the hindquarters. And that thing jumps up and takes off running down that lane and come out around that barn. And you could just see it running down that lane and right around the corner. And, this is hours after it had been shot the first time. So we get the dog and I back out of the truck and we take off tracking. And I'm on crutches trying to keep up. Them guys are just boogieing. And we get around the corner and there's the deer piled up in the brush. And the hunter got up there and he shoots it again right between the front legs. And, it's upside down and it's stuck there in the brush, and he shot it again. It's dead. It's done. So I get up there. I was the last one to come, to finally get up there, and we're talking about how big it is. It's a big, giant 8-point. I mean, it's a 160-inch 8-point, heavy duty, just a massive 300-pound animal, And he says, we're talking about the beam length and the time length and estimating the score and congratulating, high five, and we all got our hands on it. So he says, after about 10 minutes, he says, let's go ahead and gut it. And I said, well, we're kind of close to these houses. Let's drag it back down by the river and gut it. He said, all right. So them boys, they were probably 21, 22 years old. They took off gutting that deer. And me and my brother-in-law were kind of in the back, because I'm on crutches, moving slow. And we're talking about what just happened. And I looked up, and them guys are just moving along. Well, the deer is walking with its head down behind them. Each one of them got a hold of the antlers, and it's just walking. And they didn't even know it was standing up. They thought they were just dragging. And I said, hey, guys, that deer's standing up. And they turned around. As soon as they seen that deer, they scattered, man. They both run real hard, and it's just standing there. And I said, somebody's got to drop kick it. Well, my brother-in-law running up there, and he drop kicked it to try to knock it down. Well, when he did, it took off stumbling, and the further it stumbled, the faster it went. It ran 80 yards and jumped in the river and started swimming the river. And all you could hear was a big kersplash, and then right behind it was my brother-in-law. Kersplash! He dove in there and caught it, and they ended up drowning the deer. Oh, it was zombie deer is what we called that one.
Oh my gosh. Well, Jared, can you top that?
I can't top I can't top a lot of Walt stories. Yeah,
Walt has some good stories.
Yeah.
Just old. That's all it is. Just old.
I could listen to him. I've probably heard that one 6 times, and every time I makes me giggle every time I hear it.
It's one of my favorites. I don't ever wish any suffering on the animal. That's why we did not quit. We just kept right on until it was done. But yeah, you just can't underestimate a whitetail. It can be extremely dangerous. Even a deer that you think is dead may not be dead. I tell everybody they're not dead till their guts are out. Don't underestimate them until their guts are laying there beside them.
That's right. I had River Runner Outdoors. I know where a big buck is. My neighbor Sean's feeding it for me. Hey, Jimbo and Hunter, we don't talk about those deer. I have not seen any bucks in this area.
You tell him I want him to take me to Florida and go fishing wherever. There's fish.
Yeah, if you all, that's a good follow, River Runner Outdoors. Young Hunter is an amazing fisherman.
He's doing really good.
Sand Spring Trackers and Long Spur. Ty George, he said, that story sounds like something Bloodline Trackers and Long Spur would get into.
That's right.
That kind of sounded like a John and Tig story. John
has a lot of those stories. And if you haven't been fishing with John, you got to go. It's a great time.
Chill Billy Outdoors. And that's a great point, Walt. I want to mention, if you sign up on that Long Spur app, let me get over here to the right place. There it is. You get 15% off trips with John, as long as you're a member of the Long Spur app. He's over on the Potomac River Basin. He can take you on the North Branch, the South Branch, or the Potomac. I mean, he can get you into trout. He can get you into deer, and you just need to jump on our Facebook page here or the Long Spur app Facebook page. Look for John there on Chill Billy Outdoors. I mean, it's a good time. John has a good time.
first class operation, and he'll put you on fish. And he'll find your deer. It's John's a great guy.
Right. He sure is. Uh, well, what do y'all think about this year? What are you thinking?
Go ahead, Jared.
I'm just hoping we get some tracks. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to get into, but the Kentucky starts here. I think it's the 5th or 6th. So we're
Hmm.
getting primed up, ready for that, and I'm hoping to have my 107 by then. That way I can utilize the drone. Um, and
Hmm.
we're training hard and getting ready.
Uh, Kentucky, I'd always that first weekend of September. You know, you're going to be into some heat, but you're going to be into some nice velvet bucks.
That'd
Yeah,
be
we we recovered one. I'd like to get on some more of them.
Yeah, those are some fun deer. I've been down there a few times myself. Um, Walt, what are you thinking? You gonna be traveling a lot again, from what you're seeing, I guess.
Yeah, I'm planning on traveling. Tracking's a passion of mine, and 47 deer in 1 year is just not. That's just halftime for me. Uh,
Right.
my dogs are. I've been working the stamina and building their feet, and working on toughening up their pads, and the
Right.
dogs are ready, and I think I'm ready, and even if it means driving 2 hours every time, I'm gonna take as I'm just gonna be there and tailgate as many deer as I can.
I think I think it'll improve a little bit. I still, I mean, I tell everybody, there just weren't any calls out of Wood County, Work County. I mean, we have one call out of Work County. Um, Pleasance County, we didn't track any over there. And now I'm talking West Virginia counties now, but these are counties right across the river from you, Walt.
Right.
And usually we're just taking in call after call over in that area. Um, Overall in West Virginia last year, the deer kill was down 36%, but we had a massive, massive acorn crop, which will translate into bigger bucks this year.
That should
Um,
help.
yeah, with a low kill, so I'm kind of optimistic we're going to get our hands on some nice West Virginia deer this year. So,
I'm
I
sure we'll
mean,
see big bucks in our area here too. No competition. Uh,
yeah,
Plenty of resources for all the deer, and the ones that survive should be pretty healthy. But the trouble is, there'll be 10 hunters on every big buck.
right.
Everybody's hunting the one deer, and
Do you
a lot of
think?
hunters just aren't hunting.
Yeah, I know Ohio deer tend, as they get age on them, to go non-typical. But do you think with the lower deer population, more food on the landscape, more that there's that chance that another big one's going to come out of your area here over the next 3 to 4 years? And I mean one that everybody's going to hear about.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be. Ohio just produces big bucks. It's got good genetics, and it's
Yeah,
just inevitable. And it'll probably be a big non-typical, like you said. After 5 years of age, they tend to grow stickers and kickers, and
yeah,
it's hard to get that big typical rack without
right,
deductions.
right.
We have big deer. When you take a deer that's 300 pounds on the hoof, that's a big deer, and he's capable of making a big rack.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, I've seen some beautiful bucks in Ohio, and it's always a fun place to track.
Yes,
Um, Bigger deer, like you said, some 300 pounds on the hoof, which equates to tougher deer.
that's right.
Sometimes what what we'll track for 200 yards here will be a 600-yard track in Ohio
That's right.
for
Bigger
a
they
dead
are, the
deer.
harder they fall, especially during the rut.
That's right. And
It,
like you said,
it,
zombie bucks, zombie
Along those
bucks.
along those big deer lines, stay off that shoulder. I mean, I know
Yes.
a lot of. I think I kind of somewhat blame the broadhead companies, and they'll show them shooting through a cinder block and all that good stuff. And I think if you take a 2-year-old deer or something like that, year and a half old deer shooting through the scapular shoulder, it's not hard, right? So,
Right.
but you get up into the 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old bucks, and it's a Midwest whitetail, mature whitetail is a completely different animal than it is somewhere else. So
Yeah.
Even
That's a
the
good
muscle
point.
density, just the muscle density alone, if
Yeah.
it could get through the scapula, it may not get through all the muscles. A big buck during the rut, it's like a block layer target. You got all them muscles layered up, and he's been working them every day. It's got a lot working against it.
I tell you what, I honestly think, and this is just, and people can laugh, but I think Kendall Gray's onto something. If you can get something to shoot through a needle, then it's probably going to work on a deer.
Yeah, yeah,
That's some amazing videos I've watched of those Nitos stopping arrows and
yeah.
bullets.
Bullets. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
It must
but
displace energy really fast.
yeah, yeah, that's for sure. Anything else, guys?
Just for the hunters, if there's any listening, after the shot, try to remember the best you can where the deer was standing. Mark any sign you got. Physical marker is great. I mean, a mark on the map's fine, but that gets you within feet. A piece
Yeah,
of ribbon, or I've even seen a couple years ago somebody had a nickel laid in a tree I'd have never seen. But a physical marker is
yeah,
definitely beneficial. Take any pictures you can, and if any questions at all, I mean,
Spend
my
spend the time looking for the arrow.
yeah, the arrow. I know a lot of people. I personally don't pay too much attention to the blood. I mean, if it's that brown gut blood or some liver blood, yeah. But I mean, other than that, blood is blood for the most part. But that arrow, I mean, it can tell us the story. That and the reaction. And that's a
right,
lot of what I go off of is how that arrow looks and the deer's reaction directly after. So just try to preserve the trail as much as you can. And we're not saying, hey, don't track your deer, because obviously
right,
we want you to be able to track your deer, but just don't push it beyond where you're pushing that deer off the property or what have you.
right. I
Don't
mean,
get
there's a level of using your head on tracking deer.
Yeah,
I'm definitely not one of those trackers that say, please don't track your deer.
right.
I want you to track your deer. I want you to find your deer. I
yeah,
mean, I've had a couple hunters feel pretty dumb when we get out there and only go like 80 feet or something down over the hill and say, yep, there's your deer.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
At least go look. I mean, we went to one last year. The guy said the last place I seen it was here, and I went, and it was literally 5 yards from where the last place he seen it. He just never went and looked. Another one we went. We drove 3 hours and literally tracked for 3 minutes. The dog shouldn't have been needed, but he was all over the top of the deer, and the way the deer died, it died belly down. It was fall time in a thicket, so the only thing you could see was the back of the deer, and his head was kind of over a log, so you couldn't see the rack.
oh
Um,
wow.
but it was,
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes stuff like that happens. But by all means, try to recover your deer. If you seen it go down, I mean, we're not saying go 5 minutes after you shoot it and running over to see if you can find it, but at least go look a little bit.
don't
right.
get in a hurry. Give it plenty of time. Dead deer
Yeah,
is easier to find than a live deer.
Yeah,
that's right. That's what I always tell them, dead tonight's dead in the morning.
That's right.
Yeah,
and the gut shot deer, it's highly recoverable, especially if you don't push it. If you can just be patient. I know it's really hard to be patient, but I mean, a lot of times they'll be dead within their first bed within 200 or 300 yards if you just
right.
just back out and go
We've
go to
talked a
sleep or
lot of
something like
people into
that.
finding their deer the last couple of years, haven't we?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, find a lot of them over the phone.
That's right. That's right. Well, guys, I really appreciate your time this evening.
Appreciate being here. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I've got a couple things I need to talk about just here real quick, and one of them's coming up here. Longspur's Wounded Game Testing Events and Consulting. We're going to have three going on. One is August 20th through the 23rd in Fort Ashby, West Virginia. The second one's August 28th through the 30th in Beckley, West Virginia. And then we're going to have one September 4th through the 6th in Lexington, Kentucky. And if you have a tracking dog and want to see where your team stands against the nation's toughest test, here's three events for you to get scheduled into. Give John Hockaday a call. You see that number on the screen. We have that posted on our Facebook page as well. A couple other things I wanted to tell you is starting next week, we're going to go to a Monday, Wednesday schedule. We've had quite a few guests reach out and want to appear on the show, so we're going to be doing a Monday, Wednesday schedule. And I'm just going to run down a few of our guests coming up, and this list is ever growing. Next Monday on the 17th, we're going to have Dan Infalt on live with us. He's the hunting beast out of Wisconsin. I'm sure a lot of you guys out there know who Dan is. On Wednesday the 19th, Josh Duncan. Josh is the gentleman that purchased the General. That's kind of, if you're into big antlers, and you know who the General is, and it created quite the story and quite the stink around the antler world, and we're going to have a talk with him about that. Monday, 8/24, we're going to have Steven Ziegler from Rack Junkies on. Wednesday, 8/26, we're going to have Justin Stanton. He's an Upshur County bow hunter here that does a lot of things right. Really good hunter. We want to talk to him. Wednesday, 9/9, we're going to have, I skipped Monday, 9/2, the 2nd of September. We're going to have Robert Miller, tracker from out of Michigan, on and to talk tracking and Michigan deer hunting. Wednesday, the 9th of September, Chris Sparks from Rack Time is going to come on and talk about shed hunting. And if it's possible, we're going to try to sneak Roger Perry in there from PNR Whitetail Supreme. I know he has a busy schedule, but we definitely have Chris Sparks coming on from Rack Time. Chris finds anywhere from 80 to 100 sheds a year in southern West Virginia in the coal fields and the straight up and down mountains down there. So it's going to be pretty interesting. Monday on 9/14, we're going to have Jeremy Critchfield, the hunt chef from Uniontown, Fayette County area, Pennsylvania, on with us. If you haven't met Jeremy and haven't ate any of his food at any of the outdoor shows or tried any of his spices, you're missing something. And then Wednesday, 9/16, we're going to have a little Longspur flavor going on there. We're going to have Ty George, Rhonda and Tyler Shrewsbury, and James Duff. They're all either first or second year trackers, and we're just going to talk what they've seen out there and where their training's at and how it's going in the tracking world. We're going to be announcing some more guests coming on. And other than that, I really do appreciate Jared McKinney and Walt Allen coming on with us this evening.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having us.
We appreciate you guys. We hope that you'll tune in and help us out by sharing these episodes on your Facebook or social media. We appreciate everybody out there this evening, and thank you for tuning in.